Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. I'm a concierge high-performance psychologist providing luxury-level support to executives, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Coach MJ Tolan. He is a speaker, author, and entrepreneur with 35 years experience. He's lived in 12 countries and is the host of the podcast, Mission I'm Possible. I have Lise McDonald. She is the founder of Career Polish, where she is an executive career coach and master mindset coach who helps people get career happy and life healthy. And I have Dr. Cole Galloway. He is a recovering academic working in social justice and disability, primarily with babies, as the founder at Go Baby Go. My question today, what is humility and how do you keep it from holding you back?
I just love this whole concept of humility, especially in leaders. Plug in my book, I wrote a quote that said, humility is the sexiest cologne you can wear. We've all met people in high places who might have had authority or power, but yet we're so down to earth and so human. I look at three people on how they were able to have humility, but still get things done. Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and Mother Teresa.
So when I think of humility, I think one of the things, it's really hard to describe. And my first thought when I saw this topic was, it reminds me of what my grandmother told me years and years ago about being a lady. If you have to tell somebody that you're a lady, you're not. So if you have to tell somebody you're humble, you're not. Most people struggle with is the humility is, how do I talk about myself and my qualities and leadership without sounding boastful or bragging? I think that's the struggle that I find most people have.
I agree with Coach and Miss Lisa. They hit on the high points. I would say, and maybe for all of us, what actions show someone to be humble? Like Lisa mentioned, it really is something that so often it needs to come from the outside in. People need to judge you as humble, not you telling them humble. I think in that, in terms of actions for leadership and really anybody, is how do you treat the people around you and how do you place yourself and your own knowledge within the group? Is it really about you? Even if you're the humblest person, even if you tell people in certain ways, non-verbally and verbally, like it's not about me. We know those people that it's not about me, but when it comes down to decisions, the infrastructure is set up to be about them. Is your infrastructure showing that you have distributed respect for people you work with? And I'm thinking of one person in my life that would say they're very humble. They'd be shocked to be anything else, but the infrastructure, everything goes through them. And no one really considers that to be humble leadership.
So is humility something that comes into play once you already have power? Because I feel like people who are at the start of their career or are in a position where they don't have a lot of power, if they're super humble and laid back and quiet, they never get seen. So is it about power?
I need to jump in just real quick, and I say this almost every time we're on a Quick Hits. For me, straight white male humility is different, y'all, than different genders, different races. It's just, I'm allowed to be humble. I think we've talked about this, Robyn. I'm allowed to be humble and not say a thing and let the infrastructure work for me. So I feel you on that side.
I appreciate that so much as far as your perspective in terms of, okay, as a straight white male, this is a whole different thing. So thank you for that. It's not a thing that comes from leadership, because this is something I think we have to learn to be able to appreciate ourselves. Because when you were talking about, like you said, being kind of laid back and that you get overlooked, I think one of the things, especially for women, is we are admonished for talking about ourselves and saying that we've done really well. A woman is called not nice things if she shows leadership potential, where we're a man, it's a good thing. So one of the ways that I look to help people transition from that is stop thinking about it as you're talking about yourself and think about who you serve. Who do you help, or what do you help, and how do you do it? When you shift that mindset, now it releases that internal anxiety and you're not bragging, you're demonstrating your value. That's showing more humility.
I know there's been times in my life where I've sat back and said, I will let other people notice and then I will get rewarded. And that has never worked, ever.
I think all of us and anyone who tuning into the show in this particular episode would agree that they've all met people who do not demonstrate humility at all. That it's all about them. It's their car, their new boat, their new house, their new partner, whatever it is. All the ideas are from them. And it's me, instead of using French, we.
Yeah, and we have to stop rewarding that. We have to figure out a way, those of us in middle management and below, quote unquote, below, a way to recognize people and amplify it. My female and my non-white friends tell me, Cole, you can't get it. You can't understand what it means. You can be humble. You can be as humble as you want.
And still get ahead.
And still get ahead. Yeah.
Even my mother is taken aback by how out there and forward and willing I am to say, I have an answer. She's like, that's not humble, Robyn. That's too proud. Don't pat yourself on the back.
See, and that's a lot of what we were taught. Let your work speak for yourself. Well, that's fantastic. But it doesn't, as your point earlier, Robyn, it doesn't always get you the rewards that you want or deserve. And I think another part as a leader that comes in is really tapping in or building on your emotional intelligence skills to help other people to be able to recognize and help them develop those skills so that they can speak up in a very powerful way without being unauthentic or trying to be that guy.
Coach, do you have some go-to things that you say to people in leadership to help recognize and elevate people that maybe are being sort of uber humble? What do you think of when you think of elevating people that are doing great work but not getting noticed?
If I'm doing any type of an exercise with leaders, I ask them to self-reflect. And the self-reflection is, again, going back to who do you serve, why do you serve, and how do you serve? And a lot of people are just simply not aware how they're perceived by other people, whether it's a 360 evaluation or whatever. But being kind, listening to people, and having empathy works universally.
The question I asked my mother was, who is responsible for noticing me? If not me, who is responsible for noticing me and helping me move forward? And she did not have a good answer. So I'm going to ask the three of you that. Who is responsible for noticing the really good workers, the humble people, and saying, this is a really good person, let's move them forward?
Clearly people that are in quote unquote leadership and power. I think there are those folks that may or may not be in leadership on the front of the desk, but have a lot of power in the organization. One of the things that those powerful people, and I would say any straight white guy in any business has some power. Look left and right and elevate some people to make yourself look good. If you want to be just an inwardly thinking person, there's a lot of individuals that are hiding that are your most efficient, most effective. That's a weird way to get to it, but make $1 million on the back of some people by elevating people that are the best.
I think there's two parts to that. I think one is personal ownership and being able to really own your own talents and your abilities. And the second part is, in speaking to Cole's point, look to influencers. And influencers don't always have the title. Mentors, things like that. Find those to help you build those skills and also advocate for you. And if you're in that position, take ownership of that position and your responsibility to advocate for those who haven't been able to or don't know how to yet.
Leadership is nothing but a set of responsibilities and behaviors and practices. And if you're putting those into place that have the right pillars, you're doing a good job.
I'd also say take a look at Dr. Robyn and take a page out of her book. Leave that job, start your own. Find a place that you feel authentic and worthy. And if you can't find it, create that.
Thank you. I think humility is a really tough subject because it's something that we are expected to be, but being it too much means you never get your voice heard. So you have to walk that line of how do I explain who I am without being a braggart? And it's hard. I know personally it's hard. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again really soon.